Would you like to share these? Would you mind?
No. My name is Kathleen Mulcahy, as most of you know me. And I have two concerns about this issue, what the FDA is attempting in terms of regulating our vitamins, but again, not just our vitamins, our freedom of choice, as Marty so articulately put it. One is my concern as a patient who has lymphoma and has been pursuing a holistic therapy with a doctor, with an MD. I am not an emotional, hysteric consumer that would be susceptible to some kind of a quack doctor or practitioner. I did a lot of thorough research. I have been very successful in this program, and I really am very upset and very concerned at the prospect of not having access to the supplements that I need, that I feel are saving my life and keeping me alive. As far as high potency vitamins, which I use, I have to take these supplements in very high potencies. And certain amino acids and herbs, which are not a part of my particular program, but herbs are also part of this, they will be taken away. And if you confront someone in this, they say, well, we're not really taking it away. They are taking it away, because what they want to do by classifying them as drugs is that you have to go through a 10 to 12 year drug approval process. There is no economic incentive for natural substances because they can't be patented. They have no hope under this new regime of ever having their substances be able to go through that drug approval process. And if let's say that they do have them, they will be available at 10 to 20 times, I've read the projections, of cost. They're already, my program is very expensive as it is. It's not horrible, not compared to regular. I should put it in perspective. I mean, our whole program probably costs about $6,000 a year for all the nutritional supplements. As opposed to a friend of mine who died through chemotherapy, she had 2 treatments, and it cost her her bill was $90,000 for the preliminary tests and 2 treatments, and she was dead in about 3 months. Because I have a direct interest in this, I have been getting letters from my doctor. I have been getting letters from my lab. Your project is your supply is in danger. This is horrible on your psyche when you're trying to fight cancer or something. You're supposed to try to be relaxed. And, you know, I'm furious. What can I say? I'm furious.
What are the letters saying?
The letters that my doctors are saying, you know, I have to tell you this, I'm very sorry, but there may be a chance that I'll be out of business in a year. No one's really sure what's going to happen. And, you know, this is an extra stress that we have to worry about that I really highly resent in America, that we should have the freedom of choice. It's my body. If I choose to live or die by what I put in my mouth, I want to make that right. Just like I can choose to smoke a cigarette or I can choose to do alcohol. I know there are risks associated with that. And I can take it or not take it. But and I also work with a lot of AIDS patients. And if anyone says, and I've heard this is, well, it's the vitamins. My impression initially, and if I had not been sick, was, well, so I don't take a 1 a day, my little Fred Flintstone vitamins. So what? The people that I know, people will die because they depend on these to live. It's part of their, they depend on certain high potency vitamins, amino acids, herbs, certain homeopathic remedies. Their life, not only their life in actuality, but their perception of life and health and well-being are very related to what their protocols are.
This is not a debate about consumer access to the products, whether it's somebody who has AIDS, HIV, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, you name the condition, there are people who are seeking alternative therapies, and FDA fully supports that pursuit and access to those products. The debate is about whether or not the manufacturer can make a claim to treat those conditions on the label. It's not a debate about consumer access to the products. We fully support that access.
It's just so, I'm just a layperson,
Sure.
Okay? And so are they who are listening, or executors who their cousin, mother, father have cancer. That's what we're here. We all care.
Right.
I'm a little confused. Are they taking the supplements away, or are they going to charge us more and have to go through FDA to get them? What is it?
It's about just the high potency. They're trying to limit the potency is what I understand. And I think that's one reason why politicians are confusing their public by saying, no, we are going to fight to the end to make sure that you have access to vitamins. It's the quality of the vitamins that are the issue. Yeah, you can get vitamin C in 10 milligram or whatever. The issue that they're talking about regulating is high potency vitamins. So you cannot get
vitamins.
You know, you cannot get the high
that
preventive doses that
right.
you need to really maintain health and prevent disease.
And probably a scientist or a doctor, maybe Russell.
There's another issue here, in that they are trying to take things off the marketplace in terms of herbs and amino acids.
Right,
it's very clear.
Yes, but in terms of just vitamins.
Just to keep this relevant to the issue of who's going to die in this situation, it's now becoming very obvious that one of the first failures in the immune system relating to AIDS is a collapse of the antioxidant defense system. And one of the key nutrients that's involved in that is the amino acid L-cysteine, and that is scheduled to be, if the amino acid is taken off the marketplace, that will be withdrawn, and the question is, will it ever get back into the marketplace? Okay, as an amino acid, it is an essential first-line defense in early intervention in AIDS now, and it is now being recognized by the buyers clubs, and there's a lot of attention being directed to this, not only cysteine, but the N-acetylcysteine version of it.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's just a way in which you can take cysteine and block it chemically so that it will be better transport into the cells itself to become available within the material of the cell itself. The issue that I would like people to understand is that the issue of the prohibition is totally separate from the issue of the approval process. And so what the FDA is setting up is that, okay, we are going to establish certain standards by which dietary supplements will be available, and that, if that excludes amino acids, as it appears to every intent that I've seen, that it will exclude amino acids, then L-cysteine and N-acetylcysteine will not be available to AIDS patients or in the over-the-counter market. The secondary question as to whether or not it will then be able to be approved by the FDA and made available, whether it's at 2 or 10 times the price, is a secondary question. Just because it's possible that a drug company could take it through the process and the FDA could say yes, doesn't mean that a drug company would ever do that given the lack of incentive for dealing with L-cysteine.
Steve was at a meeting. Weren't you at the meeting with the FDA? One of the consumer group at AIDS meetings where you asked them point blank, just to point out and said, you know, they had to whittle them down. They didn't come out saying that, but they finally got them to admit that yes, they would be off the market. That was their intention, to take them off the market. That's straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
We have no proposed regulations, and we have not announced our intention to take any actions to limit the potency of any dietary supplements. This past June, we issued what's called an Advance Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, or an ANPR. Included in that document, which dealt with the issue of the safety of dietary supplements, was a whole laundry list of regulatory options at the agency's disposal to get a better handle on how to regulate the safety of vitamins and minerals, amino acids, herbs, and everything else. One of the regulatory options listed in that document was the proposition that science could tell us what the safe upper intake levels were for vitamins and minerals. So the general proposition that somebody should be looking at the possibility of safe upper intake levels is certainly a legitimate question to be asked, and we're so early in the game that we just need more information before we do anything.
There are two ways of looking at essential nutrients. The amount you need to avoid deficiency diseases, and we've come to know those as RDAs, or recommended daily allowances, or a new term, RDIs, recommended daily intakes, but that only relates to what you need, and it's a small amount, to avoid deficiency diseases. The amounts that are optimum, or the amounts that are desirable to treat an illness, is entirely unrelated, both by definition and by science, entirely unrelated to RDA levels or RDI levels. However, FDA has been very clear that the only scientific base that they will look at is the RDA, RDI information. And the internal discussions, as I understand them, are that 2 to 3 times the RDA or 2 to 3 times the RDI will be the upper limit of what is considered to be safe, and any amounts above that, above very small amounts, will be considered to be drugs because of the possibility that these might be therapeutically active. So there's a new definition of what it means to be a drug. That is something that might be involved with the prevention and treatment of disease or enhancement of health that would, by definition, be a drug. Now, in fact, I think that's an inappropriate standard. What we need to look at is relative safety and relative risk. If you have something that has a very low risk, a very high safety profile, then that should be available on a freedom of choice basis, and let the marketplace decide, let the person decide.
I don't know about the rest of you, but if we know so much about how to feel better if we spend less, why aren't we doing it?